Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. We're virtual only. We're based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact me. We do the thought behind the thought. What's your philosophy going forward in terms of during the end times? What you need, what do you need to know? What's your reality? What's our existence? We'll cover a lot of that today. We're covering a little piece of Revelation each week. This one is going to be Revelation 13, the two beasts, and what's going on. I think there's a sacrifice coming, and I'm going to try to prove that to you. I'll prove it more over time. So basically, I'm saying every 5 years, the Satanists are talking about death. I'm seeing it now as a prophetic trend. And they're pointing to Nisan 1 to 10 of 2029. What kind of a prophecy is that? What am I talking about? So let's look at the simple things. So there's a 10-day gap between April 8th and April 18th. And I didn't notice what was going on April 18th. But Lisa, a friend of mine, contacted me and said, Joel, what happened on the 18th? I said, nothing. Which is Nisan 10, which is the Lamb Inspection Day. And she said, no, the protest started. I said, oh my, thank you, Lisa. So it just drove me to my books and my study and everything like that, because we had the big day occur on April 8th with all the eclipses that had, matched up over the last 7 years and all the signs and everything like that. Then on the 18th, we had the protest starting. And this seems to be a protest that will continue on through the end of days, okay? This is a protest against Israel and against God's people. It's you and the Jews together as being the victims of this crime, and it's not going to stop, okay? It's just not going to. So obviously what you've seen before matches into a pattern. I'm going to show you more of the pattern. We'll do the thought behind the thought again. We're trying to keep the Bible legitimate. We're trying not to give you fake prophecy. We're trying to not give you fake news. We're trying to look at something that you won't see in the natural. You just won't. I didn't see it. I'm a researcher. Lisa found it. So what it all should point to is some kind of a weird time frame around Passover of 2029. But in the meantime, I'm dealing with the fact that I do not like the 2025 Jubilee year from the Essene calendar. Why? Because it's not something that I ever studied. Biltz doesn't like it. Kahn doesn't like it. They have different time frames. I have different time frames. Biltz is a 49-year Jubilee guy. Kahn is a 50-year Jubilee guy. I'm a 50-year. But I'm willing to look at it. I watched a bunch of videos this weekend to try to figure out what I'm missing. What I noticed, again, from Lisa's research and information shared with me, is that Obama and the pagans, we'll call them, show a 5-year pattern starting in Aviv, that's Nisan, that's that springtime month, March, April, okay? In 2009, well, actually 2004 too, 2009, 2014, 2019, 2024, 2029, and I'm assuming Obama isn't the Antichrist, but he's a major player. I'm going to call him Gog for the sake of, I have other people that agree with me. He's a Gog-like character. They seem to be focusing on Aviv again of 2029 as their great triumph. Something huge will occur. And basically, it's pulling together all the evil forces of the world to focus on what I believe is Aviv 2029. So March, April of 2029. Is 2025 the Jubilee year? I don't know. Do I trust the Essene calendar? I'm intrigued by it. It's not biblical. I mean, there's nothing about the Aviv harvest, that the barley is in the Aviv, and there's no lunar factor to it at all. You work off the equinox, or not the solstice, but the oh goodness, why am I blanking on how we calculate Easter and what vernal equinox? Yeah. And then, basically just a little bit after that. Well, the problem is that's what they're doing. They go to the Wednesday after that, and everything stays the same. It's a 364-day calendar. It's really intriguing. You'll have to study it on your own. This is not a video on the Essene calendar. This is on showing you the 5-year patterns. So I'm seeing these multiple patterns, and it could be, if this is actually the Jubilee year, it would make sense. So I'll just lay it out for you a little bit. I'm not going to give you the full story, okay? But once again, I am anti-2025, but I'm willing to research. And then they claim then the end of this age would be in 2032. Exactly 2,000 years from the time that Yeshua resurrected. And so I mean, And I don't even like 2032. I've gotten into debates with scholars for many, many years with great degrees and things like that. And they said it's 2032, and I said no, it's 2030. And I seem to be losing because we're not going into the Great Tribulation as of 2023. So, okay. So what I'm arguing again is Obama and his minions are pointing to the lamb of their gods sacrificed during Aviv of 2029. They're telegraphing it every 5 years. I'll show that to you. They will meet in Rome, according to one source, Rebecca Sterling. They'll meet in Rome in their huge bowl of a soccer stadium and watch the lamb be slaughtered and resurrected 3 days later. It'll focus around that Nisan Aviv time frame of 2029. The Pope will fulfill his role as high priest, and Obama Gog will be a chief witness. They will be the two witnesses of this. Someone has to be the Antichrist. I don't know who that'll be. I have a clue, but I'm not going to share it with you. Okay, so once again, recent information about Nisan 10, 2024 and the formation of worldwide protests may have unlocked the whole end times process. The Essene calendar seems to point to 2025 for the Jubilee year. There are more signs too. So once again, let's go back. Nisan 1 to 10, 2004. Bush kicked the hornet's nest to unleash Arabs worldwide. Bush starts the ultimate Holocaust. We're all focusing towards World War III, but before that, the sacrifice of their lamb, the lamb of their gods, okay, in what could be 2029. Okay, so then we move on to 2009. Gog Obama declares the Cold War has ceased. I don't have the news article, but he did, okay, on Nisan, I believe Nisan 10, okay, but he plans for the ultimate Holocaust offering at a later date, and he's working hard to accomplish it. Okay, Nisan 1 to 10 of 2014, Gog Obama sends advisors and military hardware to build up Ukraine and start and foment World War III. Ukraine will be a Holocaust offering. And that'll be one of the first fruits of their Holocaust offering to get World War III kicked off. I mean, they're constantly kicking the hornet's nest. They kicked the Arabs, back in 2003, 2004. They kicked Ukraine and then Russia, and they're doing anything to kick China, anybody. They want the war to kick off. And I don't want war. You don't want war, but they do. Okay, so 2019, this is what I noticed years ago, 5 years ago from 2024. Gog Obama worships at the seat of Satan in Berlin on Nisan 1, and then on Nisan 10, Michelle witnesses Notre Dame burn as a Holocaust offering against Christians, okay? And so I've done videos on this for years, since 2019, and that was bizarre. I looked at it and said, what's going on? And then I saw the 5-year pattern, and then Doc William Schnobelin told me, 5 is the satanic number for death. And I said, okay, that's it. Okay, so now, Nisan 1, 2024 has too many signs to say, that. CERN, the eclipse, everything was going on. It was a huge day. That's a sign, okay? Then Nisan 10, as Lisa mentioned, and I failed to notice, restarts the Jewish and the Christian believer Holocaust offering on college campuses worldwide. This is a protest against believers. This is a protest against logic and sanity and everything like that. But they're telegraphing to 2029, okay? So once again, when you see Nisan 1, you have to realize that Moses is erecting the wilderness tabernacle, okay, and he's sanctifying the holy items. Then on the 10th day, you select the lamb and you inspect the lamb for 4 days. And so that's what I'm highlighting here. This is a lamb situation. Now, we have a lamb, Yeshua, that will have the fury during the end times against the wicked of the world. But I'm telling you that it seems like the Antichrist, will call him, but he's really the beast. There will be his lamb selection. That's what they're pointing towards. And then he will have the head wound. And so, yes, lamb selection, 4 days then. Yeshua was, brought into the temple, and he was inspected for 4 days. And if you know anything about lambs, when you separate them from their flock and bring them into a pen in your house, they don't like you by the end of the 4 days. And they want to kill you, and you really want to kill them. Okay, so, and I've noticed that with lambs over the years. Other than this year, the lamb that I happened to observe was like a dog. and really friendly, and it was really kind of weird. So anyway, the main thing is the lamb God selected from the foundation of the world. Well, guess what? Satan has selected his lamb from the foundation of the world too, and he will give him this ability, and it seems to be based on every 5 years. So let's continue on. What again happened on Nisan 1 to Nisan 10? So all the big things. The Aleister Crowley and APEP from the CERN, I'm not CERN, from, this is Apophis from NASA, as they sent up their missiles and things like that into the eclipse. So CERN, Crowley, everything was going off during the eclipse, okay? It was just a cacophony of weird stuff. I mean, and I've done videos on it, okay? Then Mark Biltz pointed out there was the Daniel fast of Nisan 3, which was the 11th of the month, and that's when Biden allowed Iran to attack Israel. Okay, just keep that in mind. That was the day when Biden said, sure, fine, go ahead and launch all the weapons you want at Israel. Why would he do that? Now, God blessed Israel and didn't allow but maybe one of the missiles through, 1% say. And so then we move forward to Nisan 10, which is when we have the protests starting. And that is a Holocaust offering I claim to Moloch. Okay, and it's a continuous one, and it's going to be every 5 years too. So then on Nisan 24, which was really technically more Thursday of this week, you know, because I'm recording on the 5th, obviously, and I don't know what happened because usually I find out after the fact, and the friends have to tell me what's going on. So once again, Nisan 1, the Nisan 10, huge signs. And it kicked off this Holocaust offering, and that will be consistent throughout time. And then the 21 days, which was very interesting, that's from Daniel 10. So it's just all intriguing. And there was a super sign on Nisan 1. It was a super sign. Okay, so once again, Obama had his Satan's throne in 2008 when he went to Denver to give his acceptance speech. Then the true Satan's throne was in Asia Minor, and probably was in Babylon too. Then it was moved up to Germany. Obama went there on Nisan 1, Aviv 1, same month of Nisan Aviv. Of 4/6 of 19, Obama went to Germany, worshipped on Museum Island. He was there with Satan's throne, you know. And then on the 10th day, Michelle is there to watch Notre Dame burn. And that's a Holocaust. That's an Ola offering. That's very biblical. And that is what you will consistently see through on this process. Antipas. So why am I talking about a Holocaust offering? Because Satan's throne is synonymous with Antipas, which is Revelation 2:13, basically, saying that Antipas was sacrificed inside of a bull. He was burned inside of a bull, a Holocaust-type offering, at some point in time in Asia Minor. And so Obama is part of that too. He's overseeing this as we move forward. He's part of this 5-year trend. Okay, so let's move forward to 2024, and once again, the big signs. Crowley, CERN, NASA, the eclipse of the sun, and then exactly 10 days later, the Holocaust starts as the anti-Israel encampments are spreading, and the fires and everything like that, because it's a fire, it's a supernatural fire, everybody. Okay, it's not just physical fire, it's supernatural. It's hatred against believers and Jews. Okay. And the Jews don't even have to be believers. They're just going to be hated because Hitler never asked the question, hey, Mr. Jew, do you happen to love God? That was never asked. They just were killed because they were Jewish, okay? Because they carry the seed of Abraham. Others do too. So the 5 thing, you know, based on the pentagram and other things like that 5 is huge for Satanists, the occultists. It's death. I talked to Doc about this, Doc William Schnobelin, and he said, absolutely, Joel, 5 is the number for death with these people, okay? And there's this lamb connection to this too. They're counting down the 5s, okay? So 2004, 2009, 2014, 2019, 2024, 2029. I think it's because there will be a head wound Holocaust of their Lamb of Gods on 2029, and the false prophet will be involved with it, and you can kind of see him there. I believe that's my candidate on the lower left-hand side. This is Revelation 13:11, and so Then I saw another beast that rose out of the earth, and it had two horns like a lamb. I want you to see that lamb part, okay? And spoke like a dragon. It exercises all authority of the first beast on its behalf, and it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound, there it is, the mortal wound. That's what they're setting up for. I'm arguing right now that they're setting up these 5-year patterns to get to 2029. Okay, and we'll see if I'm right. If I'm wrong, obviously they're still pointing to 2029 as being important, and that is the Apophis year too. So Tom Horn's comet that comes through on April 13th of 2029, yeah, that's going to be during that time frame. So, just a couple of days after this Nisan Aviv time frame, but definitely in that month. I think the 28th day of the month. So, and also I want to point out that the Molech people, they have their 13 days of preparation from April 19th to May 1st. They also have their 40-day ritual. They have many different sacrificial systems going on during this time frame, say starting on March 19th to May 1st. Either way, May Day was huge for them. I already recorded the video for May Day Molech, but there are these times, the season of sacrifice, this Ola offering, and that will be during that time frame going forward into 2029. It'll be during that time frame. And so that's why I'm saying that seems to be we'll call it the Antichrist's Holocaust offering, like he is a lamb, but he's not the Lamb of God. He's the Lamb of their gods. Okay? Once again, you're going to be forced by probably about Nisan of 2029 to worship your creator or the creations. So you're either going to be on the Moloch side or God's side. And you can join evil or you can join God. You will have choices. And I think that'll be pretty much it in terms of time frames based on what they're pointing to. Okay, these 5-year patterns. So lots is going on. Obviously, there's the Israel-Iran war, which is, you could say Gaza. It's really just a war against Iran right now. Okay, I call them the Purim Wars. Rabbi Kurt Schneider describes them as a Purim victory for Israel. But also, we have the situation with the red heifers. Will they be slaughtered? When? They haven't been slaughtered yet, obviously, because I have friends that would tell me, and we would know. Okay, Temple Mount status, I argue it's going to be a tabernacle, not the temple, when it finally is erected, and you will have offerings, and the offerings are not re-crucifying Christ. Come on, people. Get with the program. They will be the tamid. They will be the continuous offerings. They will be holy. They're described that way by Daniel. And so, get with the program. This is going to occur. And then the Antichrist stops what is holy, okay, at the midpoint. And that seems to be Nisan Aviv of 2029 right now. I mean, that's what the Satanists are getting at. The eclipses are very intriguing, okay? You have an eclipse, not a blood moon, in 2024, then coming back again in 2025 and 2026 on Purim, 3 times in a row. Mark Biltz says that's a sign of war. It's an Esther sign. I agree with him. I agree, and we have war. Okay, so then, once again, here's what's coming up in later years. We've got, 2025, March 14th in Purim. That would be a blood moon eclipse. That's an interesting sign leading up to Passover. Then Elul 15, leading up to, the big time frame, the big fall festivals. September 7th of 2025, we'll have another blood moon eclipse. Then 2026, we'll have one on March 3rd. And so any of those are interesting. If you happen to see a blood moon eclipse and a micronova of the sun at the same time, that's seal 6, people. So just be aware of that. You know me. I will tell you if I see that. Now, I'm claiming that what you'll notice is that if that actually occurs, that it will be a mohair type of a micronova, so it won't be a dense pack of dust on the sun, and so it will blow out, and it'll frighten us half to death, but all the kings and all the leaders of the world from the 6th seal, they will immediately say, we dodged the bullet. Let's go ahead and get evil. But what should occur is that it will take out the nuclear capabilities, and it will probably take them 7 years to rebuild their nuke capabilities. So what I'm saying is, it's not going to bomb us into the Stone Age when the sun micronovas. It's going to be a light type of a micronova, and it will take out the ability to blast nukes at everybody for a 7-year time frame. So that will push World War III back by 7 years, which would be anticipated because everything in the Bible seems to point to it being at the end of the 7 years. World War III at the end. Okay, that's Ezekiel 38:39. That's Zechariah 14. It's typically found at the end. And so I'm saying that after we're done with what seems to be their Holocaust sacrifice during June 26th of 2029, you'll see another blood moon eclipse and I don't know why that day is significant, or December 20th of 2029, but you'll see a couple more eclipses of the moon and 2028 also at the end of the year, which is interesting, December 31st, 2028. Only on a full moon. Only can you have that for a blood moon eclipse. Very interesting. So what's going on right now? I'm going out tonight to check out the auroras because I'm in Minnesota. It's possible for me to see them. I'll be going to the St. Croix River Valley. And so it's a sign, it's a bad sign, people. When you see eclipses, the eclipses have meaning too, but when you see auroras this often, we had 5 or 6 of them last year where they came and were noticeable in Minnesota. That's never happened before. That's a sign that our magnetosphere is thinning, and that means it's a sign of the end times. That means you're going to see more electric type strikes. You're going to see more storms. You're going to see more, it'll be dry in this location, and next door it'll be wet and stormy and lightning strikes and things like that. This is a bad sign of this horrible penetration from the solar rays coming through and other projectiles coming through. So it's really a bad sign, and this will get much worse as the sun gets busier. Okay, and then people that I follow, Martin Armstrong, Charles Nenner, they're both saying, first Armstrong is saying, get 2 years of food together, like now. Don't buy any more gold or silver. It's not going to help you. Walk up to somebody and say, I'd like to buy a tank of gas, and here's a gold piece. And they'll say, oh, that's worth $2,400. We'll give you your change in a month or so. Okay? Not a good idea. Silver is okay, but you don't need to buy it. Armstrong is saying, buy food. 2 years of food. And he's thinking the U.S. could possibly default on its debt as early as 2025, but probably 2027. He's been running programs for years. He's been highly accurate, people. So food is more important. I'm going to be contacting a couple of prepper companies and seeing if I can work with them at all to help advertise what they do. And we'll see if that works out. I'll probably run that through my book, which would be Danny's Inferno. I'm going to be rewriting that. Nenner on the right-hand side is saying the West is going to fight a combination of Russia, China, Korea, Iran. That sounds like Dmitry Duduman. The West is going to lose. No mercy. The war cycle will continue to build in 2024, but all bets are off in 2025. He's saying 2 billion will die in the next global war, whenever that occurs. But I'm saying before that time, peak death is coming in 2026. And it's being cited by... oh goodness, now I'm blanking on my survey that cited it. But basically there are 3 or 4 different pundits that are saying that you will have peak death occurring in 2026 from many different types of sources. But the numbers that they're citing are just horrific. So I'll give you a specific citing of that in a while here. So that's peak death. This is from John Haller. This is from the New York Times of all things, okay? And I can't read it to you. You're going to have to pause the slide because that'll get me a check mark from YouTube. But this is from the Times. I should be able to state it, but I can't. So is anyone wondering what's going on here when I start talking about peak death? And even the New York Times is talking about it and saying something's wrong, something's wrong. So just pause the slide. Remember that John Haller found it for me, and that this leads into that peak death. And it's be careful, people. I can't even talk about it, but pause it and you'll realize that when the Times is talking about it, it's bad. Here's another sign of hitting the end times. This is from the Independent from Britain, and they're saying this is a typical dinner party conversation that is turning morbid. Chat about the apocalypse is becoming more mainstream. And this is from May 3rd of 2024. Amazing. So the apocalypse goes mainstream. The end of the world is becoming normal conversation. Isn't that amazing? This is Haller that found it again. Love this kind of stuff because it does prove that we seem to be going that direction. Even the Independent is citing the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So, this is from Middlebury College and a few different people citing that it's just mainstream now. So it's just weird. And thank you, John Haller, for finding this. I had not noticed it. So what am I telling you? I'm telling you that it's possible that if the Essene calendar is correct, the 2024 would be a Shemitah year. And there would be a release, and you would see signs of the release. That would be Yom Teruah of 2024. So if that's the case, we'll know that something's going on, that via Shemitah, you would see some kind of an economic release or something like that going on during Yom Teruah, which would be, we call it Rosh Hashanah, blasting of the trumpets in the fall here. So that would be September-ish, October-ish, okay? Then Purim of 2025, you'll have the blood moon eclipse. If you see a micronova, that's the sixth seal. If on Elul of 2025, you see the micronova and the blood moon eclipse, that is, once again, the sixth seal, okay? A Yom Kippur release would be on 2025. You would see a release again there too. And so you would kind of know that we're in that release time frame and that it's a Jubilee, okay? Then the final 7 years would start sometime the fall of 2025. We wouldn't know the day or the hour, but we would know that things could start out during that time frame if the Essenes are right. If they're right. I'm saying that if they're right. Nisan Aviv 2029 would be the Lamb of God's sacrifice. It's a Holocaust offering, and it would be the Antichrist being sacrificed. And they seem to be pointing to it every 5 years. Okay? What am I telling you? Normal times are going to disappear. I'm quoting from Wilkerson. Normal times will disappear, and there will appear the addict, the prostitute, the people, the thief, the street gang killer. The Bible predicts a day of total terrorism and violence. Immorality of unbelievable dimensions will surround Christians and vex their souls almost to death. Satan will attempt to discredit and destroy the work of the Holy Spirit. Whole nations will follow philosophies of godless rebellion and false religious cults. The world is going to maneuver itself into a position of lawlessness and recklessness that can only be brought together by a super dictator who lays claim to supernatural powers. And I'm saying that the Satanists are focusing on 2029, on Nisan Aviv, of the sacrifice of their Lamb of the gods and a Holocaust offering at that point in time, as he would then resurrect 3 days later, and that would be sometime during Nisan Aviv of 2029, based on what they're pointing to. I'm citing their data, so to speak. Birth pangs, we're in it. We're probably in the fourth seal right now. Peak death seems to be hitting in 2026, but the seals open quietly, silently, and then build over time. So we'll discuss the seals at another time. The tribulation would start potentially, according to the Essene calendar, in the fall of 2025. The Great Tribulation could potentially then occur on that Nisan Aviv time frame of 2029. And I'm telling you, those people on the other side are telegraphing 2029. So you need to work on your garments. You and your family, your loved ones, you need to be aware, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, of a future year. You'll need clean garments. You can't be naked. It's a wedding. You'll be cast out if you're naked or wearing dirty garments. So work on that. Repentance, belief, faith, things like that. That's what you're working on, okay? We're Beth Hesed. Thank you very much for your time. God bless you. I hope to see you next week. God bless.